Hey people of the VC, it's Andy Cloudy Mulder. Now back in 2017 I went on a bit of a mission to discover and find out as many current British heavy metal bands that were around at the time, touring and releasing, with a goal to just better understand what the scene was like. I had no idea really whether it was a thriving scene or not, and I would spend many a beer-fueled night trawling through the depths of Bandcamp for discovering weird and wonderful bands that not many people had heard of. I found a few, and I was getting into the scene quite a lot. I was starting to see bands live quite regularly as well. When I came across this compilation by Distance Productions. Now, Distance are a big supporter of British heavy metal, and this compilation, British Steel, the rising force of British heavy metal, is the inspiration for this video and introduced me to pretty much all the bands bar one or two that you were going to see in this video. I picked this up for the pricey sum of $9.99, and it has 10 songs by 10 British metal bands, most of which are still going now, I'm pleased to say. I had no idea at the time how much my collection would be influenced by the bands I discovered on this album. And so recently I found super cheap a copy of the album on vinyl. Now, I'm not one for picking up compilations much at all these days, certainly not on vinyl and CD, but I saw this for $6.99, a little stab of nostalgia meant I grabbed it, especially as it's on my sort of red, white and blue for Blighty vinyl splatter. It's a gatefold with a little bio of each of the bands that are on here. And of course, these are the bands: Amulets, Aggressive Perfector, Eliminator, Dungeon, Dark Forest, Toledo Steel, Vuel, Seven Sisters, Insurgency, Urine Spoiler and Witch Hazel. Listening through to this the other week made me realise how much this album had influenced my buying over the last 4 years. I didn't go out intentionally to buy bands just because they were on this compilation, but I ended up buying a lot of music by bands that were on this compilation. So I'm going to go through each of the bands in order that they appear on this album and show you what I've picked up from them. The first band is Amulets, and this is their first album, coincidentally titled The First. Now, Amulets were formed in 2010 and they are from London. The song that's on the compilation isn't on any of their release material, so you can only hear the song The Highwayman or Highwayman on the British Steel compilation itself. Amulet are one of the older bands, one of the oldest bands on the compilation. Their first release was a single, Cut the Crap, which came out in 2011. I subsequently picked this up after I'd heard the album. I wanted to find more from them, so that's on Blue on Bad Omen Records. And Bloody Night as well, which was a High Roller Records release. Black vinyl with Levitation on the flip side. Now, they have a very distinctive, very late 70s, early 80s sound to them. And the album, The First, sounds like it could have been produced in 1980 itself. Really, really well done. Nice collage. It's on plain black vinyl. There's a poster lyric sheet in here as well. Fantastic artwork. So lyrics on the inside of the booklet. But I'm going to run into some difficulties, no doubt, because it was 5 years after that first album, and not until 2019 did they release their second album with a pretty much a 50-60% different lineup, certainly a different singer, different bass player as well, and possibly a different guitarist. Now, vinyl, most of the vinyl you'll see on here were released by Back on Black. Many of the artists on the Dissonance label, Dissonance only release CD versions, and they tend to license their stuff out to Back in Black for Back on Black, sorry, for the vinyl. So I picked up Amulets 2019, much anticipated. It is a different sound from that very early 80s Raw. Inevitable War is a great album though. The singer's got a really strong voice, and this album is well worth picking up. Next band on the list is Aggressive Perfector. Now these guys are obviously they're named after a Slayer song, but they are no Slayer clone. Satan's Heavy Metal was their first EP that they released in. It was released in 2016, although this is a 2019 reissue. When I discovered them on the compilation album, you couldn't get the CD for love nor money, so I was delighted when it finally had a repress a couple of years ago. They are a three-piece sort of heavy speed thrash metal band from Manchester, and they were formed in 2014. This is one of the few bands I bought a digital copy of the album because I wanted to hear it so much. They went on to produce a full-length album, Havoc at Midnight Hour, on Dying Victims Productions. This is thrashier, but it's still heavy metal spine sort of running through it. But it is a different sound, and I know people have been a little disappointed when hearing this. And it took me a little bit of time to hear it because I was expecting kind of a longer version of the EP. But we're talking 3 years between these, and the band have obviously matured, better their instruments, and gone more in the direction that they wanted to go. This also comes with various paraphernalia, poster as well, I believe. Let's have a look. Poster and flyers. Okay. I must say, yeah, this one's a bit more thrashier. Check out the song Onward to the Cemetery. Aggressive Perfector, Havoc at Midnight Hour. Third band on the compilation is Eliminator. Now these guys are kind of straight up heavy metal band from Lancaster. In fact, there's a few bands from Lancaster on this compilation. Not sure when they were formed, but they did release their first EP in 2011. At the time that the compilation came out, the song that was on there was Lost to the Void. Now, Lost to the Void was on their first EP, We Rule the Night. And between them releasing that EP and being involved in the compilation and releasing their first full album, they changed their singer. So the song Lost to the Void on here is a re-recording of that original song with the new singer. They did subsequently go on to release this album, Last Horizon, which is an amazing album. I mean, these guys, incredibly well produced for a first album. Danny Foster on vocals. His vocals are like an extra instrument. They add so much depth. Got amazing artwork. That album artwork would only be better if it was on vinyl. Luckily for me, they did also release it on vinyl, again on Back in Black. Later on in that year, actually, I probably would have waited having known they were going to release it on vinyl, but I don't mind in this case having the vinyl and the CD. Again, sort of amazing artwork, plain black vinyl. I think if I get every one of these out, it's going to take some time. But yes, nice custom label. The artwork, and there's your band and lyrics. So as I say, it's straight up heavy metal, really strong melodic vocals that sort of carry the songs as well and add that extra depth to them. I did mention, so 2011 was their first release, which was We Rule the Night, and they also had a single called The Seer, which was released in 2012. They did go on later in 2018 and release those two together as a single album called Lost to the Void. This one does have the version with the original singer. And I was content with the CD, but I did get to see these guys live. They came up to Edinburgh and there was little on the merch table for me to buy, so I did pick up the album as well, because you've got to support bands. When bands come up, when they play these little clubs, and it probably cost me about £5 maybe to see 3 or 4 bands, so they're not going to make anything off the door, these bands. So go to the merch table when you see bands, especially when you can again, and give them a bit of love that way. So yeah, so this is a compilation of We Rule the Night, which is 7 songs, and The Seer, which is 2 songs. Excellent to hear some of their earlier stuff. 4th band on the list is Dungeon. This is one I've picked up recently. I didn't think I was going to get a copy of this one. It's been on the want list for a while now. Dungeon, they're also from London, formed in 2014, and this is the only release that they've had out so far, which is Purifying Fire EP. It's a 6-track EP. I showed this recently in the video. This is released on Misako Un Ojo Records. Butchered that, no doubt. And the song Queen of the Sin on this EP is the one that you will find on the compilation. And there's a picture of them there, 4-piece. Dungeon are sort of slightly blackened speed, a little bit thrashy, but excellent band. I hope these guys go on to do a full-length release in the near future. The last track on side 1 is Dark Forest, Where the Arrows Fall. I didn't get on with that track when I first picked up this compilation on CD. Dark Forest have a bit more of a folky element to them. But having heard it back recently when I picked up the vinyl, my mind is changing slightly. There's little or no chance I think of finding their debut album on vinyl unless it gets reissued. But if I do see it at a reasonable price, I think I may well pick it up now. If only at this stage to be a completist, because I do have everything else by the bands on this compilation. So I didn't set out to be that way, it's just how it's turned out. But Dark Forest is the band I don't own anything by. Moving on to side 2, Toledo Steel and Rock Knights. Now Toledo Steel was one band that I did know before this compilation. I knew them quite well. I already had their self-titled demo release, 3-track EP. This is when they were a 5-piece. Toledo Steel have had a number of lineup changes over the years, but Rich Rutter on vocals, Tom Potter on guitar, and Matt Dobson on drums, I think, are the 3 ever presents. But they've flipped and flopped between being a 5-piece, 2 twin guitars, 4-piece with just the 1 guitar. And I've seen them live 3 or 4 times now. They've come up to Edinburgh quite a lot, which is really, really good. Not many bands will come up this far, certainly not Southerners like these guys. These guys are from Southampton, down on the south coast. So that's their debut EP, which they released. When did they release that one? That was in 2013. They were formed in 2011. Also, before I'd heard them on the compilation, I had this EP as well. This is really good, especially for a sort of self-released EP. It's called 0 Hour. Again, try and find copies of this anywhere if you're lucky. It's got 6 tracks on it, and the obligatory self-titled track at the bottom, which a lot of these new wave of traditional British heavy metal bands seem to do, write their own song about themselves. That's good enough for Iron Maiden, good enough to Toledo Steel. In 2018, they did release their first album. I picked that up at one of the shows. Got it signed by them. It's a 4-piece now, and subsequently this chap has left the band, and they've got a new lineup again, but these sort of the 3 mainstays there. This is a really good debut album, 8 tracks on it. It's got Rock Knights on here, which is from the compilation. Behold the Machine, No Quarter, Cemetery Lake, Sight of the Sniper. I like that. When the Night Draws In. I've pretty much read them all out. It's a really good debut album. And of course, true to form, a few months later, they did release it on vinyl, on black. And I'm a sucker for these British heavy metal bands, so got to show you support. Black vinyl with the no quarter centering. Great to hear that on vinyl. And they have got a second album which I pre-ordered, oh god, feels like last century, felt a long time ago, but like a lot of bands with during the COVID pandemic, they're having some logistical issues getting them out. So fingers crossed, it's a CD. Fingers crossed I'll get that at some point soon. It's called Heading for the Fire, and there's one track that's available on YouTube if you wish to check that out. Cheers, everybody. The next band is a Scottish band, speed metal, formed in 2012, and they are called Hazel, and this is the EP, the only EP really that they've had out. This was released after the compilation, and it's called Hell. It contains the song, which song was on it? I've forgotten now. Iron Witch. It doesn't contain the song Iron Witch, actually. Iron Witch is not on anything that they have released, so if you want to hear some Iron Witch, you have to buy the or listen to the British Steel compilation. But this 6-track EP from these, it's a 2-piece band, is absolutely fantastic. It's great speed metal with the blackened vocals to it. Check out the song Chain Fist and pretty much anything on side B. Brilliant. Again, fantastic artwork. Kind of reminds me a little bit about the first Angel Witch album. Difficult to see here, little guy, I don't know if it's Grim Reaper on a motorbike. Of course, much better to see it on a vinyl release. A 10-inch vinyl release, no less. There's the two fellas. Despite these guys being in Scotland, I have never seen them touring. This is a limited edition 168 of 250 on Alone Records. Greek label. There's nothing inside here. No. So yeah, I would love to see these guys actually come and tour. I don't know if they do. In fact, they're only a 2-piece, and if they get session musicians in or what have you. But yes, there we go. View. And the other thing I've been able to find by them is this split with Japanese metal band Abigail. It's had by the name Abigail. They're a bit of a Merciful Fate, King Diamond clone. There's the insert. We've got Heavy Boozer and Satan's Swill. I'd actually list them as a 3-piece here. So this came out actually in 2017 before the EP, so they clearly lost their drummer, I think. And there's Abigail, if you're interested, with the Black and Roll Bitch Patrol and Nuclear Pussy. Great names. But yes, not much from. I think there's maybe one other split that I've got my eye on, but have yet to see pop up. How are we doing for time? Okay. Now, probably my favourite band on this compilation, and apart from Toledo Steel, the other band that I knew in advance of picking up this compilation, and that's Seven Sisters. Seven Sisters, traditional heavy metal band, formed in 2013. I think they're from London. Again, they've had a few lineup changes over the years. They've had sort of 2 or 3 bass players in the time that I've been following them, and they've recently replaced, or not replaced, the drummer decided to leave the band, and they've got a new drummer coming in. But Graham Farmer and Kyle McNeil are the main driving force behind the band and songwriters, I believe. The Witch's Eye is the song on here, and that is a compilation only song. It doesn't appear on any of their other releases. This is their debut album. I had this already, as I say, before the comp. This was released in 2016, and it's a self-titled song. It also has a self-titled track on here. As I say, all good British heavy metal bands have to have a song named after them. Cool thing is, their debut album was released on High Roller, so it kind of shows the how good they were to start with. My only bugbear with this album is it doesn't tell you which is side A and side B. It tells you what's on side A and side B, and I I know this now because I've just played it, but I always assume that the picture side is A and then the listen side is B, because it normally has other side and this side, but it's not. Side A is the one with the track listings on, and side B, that one. Not that it's important to you guys, but there we go. But this is a phenomenal, so white vinyl, phenomenal debut album. Destiny's Callway, Highways of the Night, The Silk Road, Seven Sisters, Commanded by Fear, Gods Are Men Alike, and Cast to the Stars is a killer album. Closer, does it get the usual high roll? I don't think they recall there being a poster in here. No, but there is an insert. Well, we have Kyle and Graham. That's just Steve Lofton, the drummer, I think, that's just left recently. And Adam Thorpe was on bass at the time. As I say, my favourite band off this compilation, without question. Really good stuff. So this was released in 2016. After the compilation came out, they released their second full-length album in 2018 called The Cauldron and the Cross. This was my favourite album of 2018. That's how high regard I hold it. It's a phenomenal album from start to finish. I love every track on here, and I played this and I played it and I played it and I played it over and over again when it came out in 2018. Absolutely loved it, and it became favourite album of 2018. Of course, this is on Dissonance as well. Back in Black gave us a double LP version, and again I picked this up. I had it on Amazon pre-order, but then I saw that they were playing Edinburgh and I picked it up at the show instead, and even though it's all in dark, it's all signed in black, it is fully signed by the band, so that was really cool to get. It's on black vinyl with the album themed custom labels as well. Oathbreaker, The Cauldron and the Cross Part 2, Blood and Fire, Premonition, A Once and Future King. It's just a fantastic album. It's not so much that individual tracks stand out, and they do, but the whole album just fits perfectly together and is just a great listen from start to finish. After that, Seven Sisters kind of kept themselves busy. In 2019, they did release a single. Now, this is actually a split single with the band Haunt, and I know Haunt released two split singles, one with Seven Sisters and one with somebody else. And I'm a bit, when it comes to Haunt, they're okay, but they just release too much too often. I'd rather bands sort of concentrate on the quality, not the quantity. Although many would disagree with me. Haunt are a very, very well liked band. I just like Seven Sisters more. So this is the only one of those splits I got, and I kind of store it as though it's a Seven Sisters single, even though the Seven Sisters is the B-side, and it's on this kind of nice splatter pinwheel, whatever you want to call it, blue vinyl. The song, Seven Sisters song, is called The Crystal Temple, and the Haunt song is called Sea of Dreams. During lockdown last year, they did release like an acoustic version of many of the songs, which I didn't grab at the time. I kind of wish I had. I didn't think it was my thing, but now I've got to get it for love nor money. So my bad. But this year, they did announce that they were going to reissue their two earliest releases, which was the Warden demo tapes and their Lost in Time 7-inch. And it arrived this week. Absolutely delighted to get this. I learned a thing or two about this as well from the write-up. So, well, it's on black vinyl. But it has a nice insert with pictures of the band throughout the early years. So the Warden demo tape originally came out in 2014, and the Lost in Time single came out in 2015. Now the Warden demo tapes, according to the blurb, they weren't even a proper band. They were just a couple of mates jamming, and a friend of theirs was staying the weekend, so he decided to do vocals, and it was a vocalist, I believe he was in Witch Hazel at one point, and they didn't have a drummer, so they programmed the drums, and that was the Warden demo tapes, and that did so well that they went on and decided to become an actual band, and Lost in Time and Wicked Steel was their first incarnation of Seven Sisters as we know them today, with Kyle switching to vocals as well. But I'm delighted to have this. So the demo tape and the 7-inch single, again, you won't find those anywhere, and to have them reissued in this one format, sounding so good for a private press release, not on the label. I think they've put this out themselves. Fantastic job, brothers, if you're watching. So Seven Sisters, that's everything I have from them. Hands down my favourite band off this album, and there are many bands on here that I really like. So the next one, we're going to go from straight up traditional heavy metal to blackened death thrash. A band also from Lancaster, formed in 2012, and this is Insurgency, and their EP, Militant Death Cult. Now this, like Dungeon, this is also released on Misaku Uno Ojo Records. The song on the compilation was called Destined for Death. And as soon as I put this on, something didn't feel right. The version on the compilation is it's night and day between how good it sounds and how bad it sounds on here. In fact, the whole pressing on here sounds really dirty, and as though the vinyl is really dirty, lots of kind of interference. And the only saving grace is I bought this on Bandcamp, so I have access to the to download the FLAC files, and the FLAC files are clean as you like, and the album sounds brilliant. But this is a terrible pressing. But I don't know, what could you do? Inner, so they are a three-piece, so they are a kind of a blackened death thrash type band, as death as I really go, and I've got to be in the mood to listen to these guys as well. But yeah, you get Inner, and it's on playing back vinyl, but I don't think the quality control guy had the day off when this bad boy was printed. So nice to have it in the collection, but overall I'm very disappointed with the sound. Urine Spoiler, that's a great name for a band, isn't it? Their song on the compilation is called A Slay of the Beast. Now, also coming out in 2017, and the first album I got as a result of hearing the song Slay the Beast, went straight out looking for some Urine Spoiler, and I found that they had this album out called Second Sight. Again, these guys are on Dissonance, and I subsequently found that this is actually their second album. There's the guys, and again some killer artwork that was crying out for a vinyl reproduction of it, and of course they never let me down. Black on black again. Fantastic sci-fi shots. It's one of these ones that kind of opens up so you get a full panoramic view. Again, the side continues. Picture of the band and lyrics. Now, Urine Spoiler, like Eliminator, have an amazing singer. The guy's name is J.R. Vox, and again, he just adds an extra dimension to the band. It's like having an extra instrument on there. His vocal range kind of carries the songs along as well, and bridges, and he's just got such an excellent voice. It's energetic, melodic male, with just excellent vocals. I can't sell this one enough. I just think this is a band definitely worth checking out. Now, let's say this was their second album, and their first album, Emergence, eluded me for quite some time. Self-released album, only available on CD. It was going for silly money already, but I found a copy on Music Magpie of all places, and they normally, if something's, they normally price things accordingly. It was new, it was sealed, and I grabbed it for a very, very good price. This is a fantastic debut album, especially one that is self-released. If you see a copy of this, grab it. It's a great. I don't know the names of the songs on these ones actually. I've listened to the album over and over again, but I don't think I've actually sat down and really taken note of which songs I like. But it's an album I would play start to finish, no problem. Anyway, so this was released in 2013, so that was 4 years before their second album. 2020 they released their third album. Now they've gone from doing a self-released to a label release and back again to a self-release. Now this came out last year. This is Spoiled for Choice, and again they've done a fantastic job for self-release. It's in a super jewel case. Remember these things? Great booklet, fantastic production. In fact, the producer is that guy there in the Carlsberg football shirt is Flemming Rasmussen, the guy who was the engineer producer for Metallica when they started out. Great album again from start to finish. I do know some of the songs on here. An Eye for an Eye, Six Cosmic, Triskelion 6, Hiding in Plain Sight is a great song about depression, but it's just a really well crafted song. Craving the Night, Angel of Britannia, Airstrike, it's fantastic third album. These guys have not released a bad album. I also picked up the on cassette. I've not opened this one, I probably won't, but I just wanted to show support for a band that I thoroughly admire and enjoy. I would love to see these guys live. Hopefully they will do a UK tour where this whole shit blows over. Going to move on to the last band now. This is way longer than I thought it would be, but then again, given the number of things I'm showing and the fun I'm having doing it, I don't care. Witch Hazel closes off the album with their song Freedom Battle. Freedom Battle was off their first album, Prelude. It's a picture disc, of course. I didn't want to buy the picture disc. I hate picture discs, especially picture discs that don't come with any sort of cover. If a picture disc came in a cardboard sleeve with an insert and everything else that comes with it, fine, no problem. But I hate all this plastic nonsense. But I missed the first pressing. I don't know by how long, but it was sold out by the time I decided that Freedom Battle was a song worth getting, and Witch Hazel, a band worth pursuing deeper. All they had left was the picture disc, so I grabbed it. About 4 weeks after buying this, they released the second pressing of the other vinyl, which I decided not to double up on. I like it. I didn't like it enough to get 2 copies of it that early on anyway. But they're on Bad Omen Records. Bad Omen Records do good pressings. This sounds pretty damn good. Freedom Battle from the comp, Fight, More Than Conquerors, He Shall Reign, Witch Hazel, self-titled song. They're all at it. Now, Witch Hazel describe themselves. Did I say where they were from? So these guys are from Lancaster as well, formed in 2011. These guys are a perfect marriage of 70s bands, I guess like Deep Purple, and 80s metal together. They actually call themselves medieval heavy metal. They describe themselves as if new wave of British heavy metal were around, 600 years ago or so, then this is what it would sound like. They're a very spiritual band. They don't necessarily come out and say that they're a Christian band, but the songs are all of a spiritual nature, and it's kind of really uplifting music and lyrics as well. And it's the sort of band that wouldn't put people off that said, I don't want to buy into that Christian metal rubbish. Well, you wouldn't know. You were listening to this, and you'd have really good music and a really good band. And I would thoroughly recommend Witch Hazel, whatever your persuasion. In 2018, a year after the comp, they released their second album, To Sojourn, a bit of a Wishbone Ash inspired cover. They do look a bit folky. This is the get that they wear on stage as well. They're a bit kind of villagers from Robin Hood in their setup, but fair play to them. They stuck to it. It's their image, and they are superb live as well. Again, I saw them up in Edinburgh. Save My Life, Still We Fight, See My Demons, Slave to Righteousness is a banger on here. Absolutely great. Victory. This is a fantastic album, and by far my favourite Witch Hazel album thus far. I love Prelude, but this is a follow-up album. To me, is the best work that they've put out for now, because in 2020, last year, they did release their third album, Pentecost. I've only had this for about 3 weeks. I pre-ordered it when it came out on Amazon, and Amazon let me down. They did not deliver. They clearly put pre-orders up for stock that they couldn't get hold of themselves, and then by the time I went back to Bandcamp, first pressing had sold. So I had to wait for the second pressing to come out in the last month or so to finally grab a copy. I went for the overindulgent smoky splatter pinwheel effect. They're still on Banner in the records. Well, this is a really good album. I've only listened to this about 3 times so far, and it is growing on me every single time. I will show the Sojourn was on beer, kind of, or mead probably for these guys. Yeah, so let's go back to Pentecost. Pentecost is a really, really good album. Growing on me every time I spin it, and who knows, maybe this will become the favourite. He is the fight. I am redeemed. I will not. Dry Bones is a good song as well. Yeah, I love this band. I think they're really, really good, and they could go on to really big things. My only issue is with the packaging. They've kind of gone, because I mentioned this, that 70s influence. They've gone for a really, really hard stock cover like you might find on this sort of 70s album. And whereas people say something's a style over substance, this is actually substance over practicality, because it's really hard to get the record in. It barely fits because the card is so damn thick. It didn't come with a polyline sleeve, so maybe if they'd saved a few quid by going for a thinner stock, they could have got some polyline sleeves. But if that is the only thing that I can really complain about with the album, because it does sound good, sort of lyrics and artwork, then it ain't going to be that bad, is it? So, Witch Hazel, Pentecost, their latest album. Thank you for watching as I revisit my collection that was inspired by British Steel, the rising force of British heavy metal. Let me know if you know any of these bands in the comments, or if you have a favourite modern British heavy metal band that I've not talked about. Let me know in the comments as well. There are plenty in my collection that aren't on this album, so who knows, I may do a follow-up and cover some more British metal bands in the future. Thank you so much for watching. Talk to you in the comments. See you again soon.